Hi, everyone. Colleen Neal again from Let's Talk About It. What I'd like to do is talk to you a little bit about how my progress has gone over the past year. Last year, I was diagnosed with vestibular migraine and neuralgia and post-concussion syndrome after a car accident. Again, I come to you and talk to you just about my personal experience with these conditions. I'm not a doctor, and I just speak to patients and people who know those patients. Um, this time last year, I was in physical therapy for a few months and I was suffering very, very badly. I was having terrible balance issues, could not walk in a straight line, could not stand on one foot, could not, I had trouble standing on 2 feet actually. And I was getting very sick, nauseous, and vomiting whenever I did any vestibular, therapy with my eyes. From there, I went to a brain injury doctor in Edison and had testing done. I had a rotational chair testing as well as a VNG, and that found that I have central nervous issues, central nerve issues, not ear issues that were causing my problems, and that came from my accident. I also have occipital neuralgia, which I'm also dealing with, which gives me really, really bad pain in the back of my head. There's a few nerves in the back of my head that really, really are inflamed and potentially compressed, as well as pain in my neck and my shoulders. So, interestingly, I was diagnosed about a year ago, and when I was diagnosed, I was really, really having difficulty. So, I have to say, overall, I've improved quite a bit. This time last year, I was having terrible time with light sensitivity and sound sensitivity. I do still have a lot of sound sensitivity. It's not as intense, and my light sensitivity is better. They are still triggers for me, and they're still very difficult, but they're not as bad as they used to be. To the point where I really could even go outside if someone was mowing the lawn in, a few houses near me. If someone was, banging nails or anything like that, working on homes nearby, I couldn't be outside either. I couldn't go to restaurants, anywhere where there were a lot of people or music. I absolutely could not go. Outside parties, barbecues. I really did not leave my house much at all last year at this time in the spring. The summer was also very difficult. So I can say that now I do go out somewhat regularly. I still cannot be obviously at a concert. I can't be anywhere where there's live music. I do have a lot of sound sensitivity, so I do have to be very careful with that. Um, I am driving now. I did have difficulty then. And what I've learned over the past year is that a couple of things. One is um, I have great difficulty processing information fast enough for me to drive safely in new areas. So I don't do that anymore. Or if I do, I have to be really careful. I look at maps ahead of time and try to familiarize myself first, or I have someone else drive me. I've also learned that I pretty much max out right now, where I really couldn't handle much at all last year, maybe half hour or an hour of exposure. I'm up to about 2 hours of exposure. So that means I can drive for about an hour and a half or 2 hours. I do get headaches and I do have problems within those 2 hours, but t- after about 2 hours, I'm in really bad shape and it's not a good situation. I've also noticed just really being out socially, 2 hours is about my maximum. After 2 hours, although again, I do have head pain and I have balance issues those whole 2 hours. After 2 hours, I'm at the point where I have to lie down. I feel very, very nauseous, and I have significant issues being able to walk on my own and absolutely need assistance. So, I'm still struggling and I still have some issues, but I definitely feel like I'm improving. So when I first was diagnosed, I was put on topiramate, which is also called Topamax. That did help me quite a bit. I say it smoothed out the edges of my worst symptoms, which was intense headaches for me, um, and the dizziness that I had 24/7 wasn't as bad. It took longer for me to get to a really bad place. um, the downside with topiramate is it does lead to some confusion and some word searching, which I already had because I had a lot of cognitive issues for probably a good 6 to 8 months, I struggled anyway because of my concussion with word finding and processing. I do still have issues with processing, not as bad. I can understand things better. I feel like I think a little bit better, but I'm nowhere near where I was. Maybe I'm 50% better than I was after my accident. And by that, I mean, if people talk very quickly, I need them to slow down because I can't process that quickly. Um, my long-term memory seems okay. My short-term memory, which was very, 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 very bad after my accident, um, I feel like that's improved. You know, I could only remember 2 or 3 things at a time. I think I could maybe remember 4 or 5 now, you know, depending on how I am. I definitely have learned that I have to write every single thing down. I cannot and do not rely on my short-term memory at all. Um, Pretty much once I'm distracted by new thoughts or new situations, whatever it was that I was trying to hold on to is gone. I don't know if that's going to come back. It does scare me a little bit, but it's come back a little bit. So the treatments that I also started was I started for vestibular migraine, Botox injections, and I have another video on that. I've had 2 rounds of Botox injections, and the concept is that they say that if someone has 15 or more migraines in a month with the Botox protocol, you can potentially move that down to 2 or 3 a month, which would be fantastic. I'm not there. I've had two, and they have to be about 90 days apart. I've had 2 of those protocols. I'm going to have another one on May 29th. After the first one, to be honest, I did not see very much difference at all in my symptoms. I personally had, and I talked about this in other videos, I personally had a good week and a half of like pretty intense head pain after the Botox injections. After the second round, I did see some differences. Again, it takes a few weeks for it to kick in. Um, do I still get headaches? Yes, I wake up with a headache every day, probably around a 3, sometimes a 2 if I'm lucky. Whereas last summer, I would have to lie down by noon because I was so dizzy or felt so nauseous. I usually can last till about 4 or 5 o'clock now, which is great. Um, the evenings, I still do get, depending on what I'm doing, I do get to a higher level of pain in my head, probably around a 7 or 8, around 7 or 8 o'clock. I used to get that way earlier in the day. So I feel like my day, I'm able to like deal with myself a little bit longer before it's like completely debilitating. So again, that's improvement. Um, you know, if I'm outside, I've been really trying to force myself to do yard work. You know, I might be raking or picking up leaves or gardening or I can't mow. I'm not going to try to mow. That's not going to happen. Obviously, when I do those things, my the pain in my neck and the back of my head gets really bad. I still also have a lot of pain at the very top of my head. So although the vestibular migraine symptoms I think have become less intense, and I don't want to say less frequent because I get them every day, but they're just less intense. The occipital neuralgia is really a problem. Um, Clearly, even now, when I move my head this way and that way, I do feel a lot of pain in my neck and the stretching of those nerves. As you know, I was denied by my insurance company 3 days before the surgery to have the occipital nerve decompression surgery. Um, it's been quite a while. I'm still waiting to hear from my doctor on that and see if we can get it approved in appeal. My thought right now is because I've been having so much pain is that what I'd like to do, and I called the doctor the other day, is just go ahead and do the radio frequency ablation to deal with my pain. I had that done in my sacral area because I have other back injuries years ago, and it was helpful. The problem is it doesn't last for a long time because the nerves grow back. So my thought is that maybe I can reach out to the doctor and see if we can do RFA. That might give me a few months of relief, and then maybe, you know, we can look at getting the approval for the decompression surgery again. So that's kind of where I am. My initial treatment also included a lot of different supplements, and I wanted to show those to you. The concoction, you know, seems to be, I don't know where I have it, but CoQ10 every day. magnesium 3 and 8. Now, there's different kinds of magnesium, so you definitely want to talk to your doctor about that. Originally, I got the magnesium citrate, which this is good. It does help you sleep, and it is a good supplement. But this one's really for relaxation and sleep. This one is for cognitive health and for like brain repair, for brain elasticity or plasticity. So my doctor was very clear that the supplement that I should be taking, for my head for the vestibular migraine is the 3 and 8. It's not going to hurt you to take citrate, but you definitely want to make sure, what kind of magnesium are you taking? So the CoQ10, the magnesium, and B vitamins, B complex. So I've been taking those every day. Um, However, I have insomnia, which is not unusual for people with VM or people that have post-concussive syndrome. So my doctor told me to switch to take the magnesium at night, and that might help me with my sleep. I did suffer from some depressive symptoms as well. And just so you know, I do suffer from PTSD from a zipline accident I had years ago. I do get treatment for that. I do see a therapist every Thursday. Um, but my doctor also noted that, because of vestibular migraine, because of migraines in general, they can pull a lot of serotonin um, from your brain. And that's your coping stuff, that's the neurotransmitters that help you cope with tough stuff. And I've gone through a lot with pain and losing my position at work. I'm on disability. I don't work now. I was very upset about that. So she recommended, I take Cymbalta for my PTSD and other things as well, and for global pain. But she recommended that I also take ashwagandha, which I've also been taking, which has been helpful. I think it's kind of calming. Because I'm still having so much trouble with my migraines and dizziness and all of that, my doctor called it like refractory. So a refractory situation, basically that means that my migraines and my neuralgia is not responding well to the treatments that we've had so far. It's just taking a really long time. So she recommended recently that she took me off the Topamax, which, by the way, going cold turkey, you get really bad headaches for like 5 days, like real bad headaches. Um, but we're going to start Nurtec, which is a relatively newer drug. I think it was approved in 2019 or 2020. It's relatively new. So it took us some time to get that approved, but I'll be starting that this week. And that's more of an emergency kind of medicine. It's more of an abortive medicine. You can't really take it every day, but the idea is, when I'm, above a 6 in pain and symptoms, that's to take it. Prior to that, I was taking Imitrex, um, and this was an emergency situation. So, if I was getting really, really bad head pain or really dizzy or having trouble walking, I would take this at onset. I This didn't do well for me, I have to tell you. I think my headaches, by the time I realized, that I needed to take this, they were too far gone and just didn't really touch it. I would sometimes take this at night. It helped a little, but honestly, it didn't help me a ton. I did talk to my doctor about taking marijuana gummies. Um, it was interesting, an interesting conversation about that. Obviously, you should not be drinking alcohol, especially on Topamax. Um, but alcohol will potentially might dull your headache today, but then tomorrow it might make your headache actually bounce back worse. So, for some people, like, oh, I have some wine or I have some of this and it helps my headache. That's true. Um, for a lot of people, not everybody, but you have to think about how are you going to feel the next day. And that goes for the gummies too. I was telling her sometimes the pain's so bad I need to kind of take an indica gummy so that I can sleep because I'm not sleeping because of the pain. So every now and then that's okay to do, but again, your headache can come back worse the next day. So that's something I'm going to really start paying attention to with taking gummies because I have insomnia. I have really bad insomnia, and that's part of it. It's part of the deal. So I'm hoping taking vitamin D at night, magnesium at night. She prescribed melatonin for me to take at night, so hopefully that'll help. I meditate on the regular. I do a lot of relaxation techniques. I use essential oils. I do all that stuff. So, if you have insomnia with this, it's not surprising. The other things that I, of course, still use that I've mentioned before, is I have this ice hat. It's in a plastic bag because I keep it in my freezer. Um, but it's kind of like a neoprene situation. And I'll link it below. But I use this, when I need to, and put it on my head, and it's great. It only lasts about 15-20 minutes though, but it is super, super cold. And I found, especially with the occipital neuralgia, people will say, like, how are you handling the pain? I gotta tell you, it's ice. Um, I'll have this on my head, or I'll have it here, um, or I have my cap on. So I think ice has been for the past year and will still be one of my go-tos to help me deal with especially pain with my migraines and with occipital neuralgia. The other piece that I've learned is that I need to stay really hydrated. So, I bought, some water bottles, 23-ounce water bottles, and I try to make sure I'm drinking at least two of those a day. Um, I'd like to say I avoid caffeine. I don't drink coffee, but I do drink tea, herbal tea, non-caffeinated. But my downfall is I like me a Coca-Cola. So I do drink those. Is that interfering with my sleep? Maybe. I don't know if that's contributing to my headaches necessarily. I don't know. But I know it's something I can't do much of, and I need to really make sure I'm drinking enough water. So that's really where I am right now. I'm definitely improving. It's been over a year. I'm seeing that the treatments are helping. I'm hoping after my next protocol with the Botox that I see even more relief. I'm really hoping. And that's one of those things. There's no cure for vestibular migraine necessarily, so, it's how do you treat it? There's a couple people that I want to check out. Many people have mentioned the Steady Coach on YouTube, and I've watched her several times, and I think she's super fascinating and super interesting. So I'm gonna watch a little bit more of her and see what I can learn that I can do myself at home to help my symptoms and help myself improve. I also want to study a little bit more about the vagus nerve and vagus nerve reset. More and more people have talked about that. And I also want to look into craniosacral therapy. My doctor did recommend that I go see a specialized neurological ophthalmologist. I do have, since this, I've had terrible time with my eyes, blurry vision, aura, um, difficulty looking up. When I look up, I still get very, very dizzy and really bad headaches and very nauseous. Obviously, I have trouble driving at night. I have trouble, when things are moving quickly past me, and obviously lights. There's a lot of visual pieces to this, and also your vision is also what gives your brain information about where you are in space. So, you know, those of us with VM, we already have a neurological software issue in our brain that things aren't connecting right and the information's not getting to our brain correctly. If your eyes, are screwed up, do you have binocular issues? I don't know if I do, but it's time. It's time for me to go see this doctor and be assessed. I know I have nystagmus that was tested with the VNG. So I'm gonna go look into that, and I'll take you on the ride with me when I get my eyes checked too. Um, so that's kind of where I am dealing with this for a year. There has been improvement, but there are things that I want to look into more and see what else I can do. I will check back with you and let you know how the changes are with the Nurtec, taking vitamin D and the melatonin. And I'm really hoping that I get approved soon for my occipital neuralgia decompression surgery. If not that, then radiofrequency ablation. Um, I did another video on why my surgery was canceled. So if you're interested in that, you can, subscribe to my channel. You can see other things. I also talk about navigating disability because that was very difficult as well. So, for those of you dealing with a chronic condition, I wish you the best. Um, I try to get out there and challenge myself as much as humanly possible. I don't let this cage me into the house. So I'm trying to be more social. I'm trying to go out. Soon I want to start walking my dogs, at least around the block every day, and then maybe go further and further. Again, if I look down, I'm fine. But if I looked, if I'm walking and my eyes are up, I have a lot of trouble. So following a sidewalk is easy. I don't know about anything else. I can hike a little on a trail. Again, I'm looking down. So I'm curious that I can maybe get some answers about that from my eye doctor. So I wish all of you the best. If you have some ideas of things that are working for you, I'd love to hear about them. And if there's anything you want me to cover, I'll be happy to do that. But right now, I'm a year out. I'd like to say I'm improved more than I am. Unfortunately, I'm not, but I am making small, small, small incremental improvements. So, I'll take it. So anyway, have a nice day, everybody, and thanks for joining me. I'll see you in the next one.